For years, Stu Gregor grew other people's brands through his marketing agency, Liquid Ideas. Then he finally decided to test what he knew on a product of his own. That product is 4 Pillars Gin, and it's taken the premium spirit market by storm. Before we get stuck in to episode 390 of the Small Business Big Marketing Show, the Marketing Gold is made possible thanks to Prosper and American Express. Prosper is Australia's #1 online lender to small businesses. You can quickly apply online for loans up to $250,000, get a fast decision, and in most cases, receive the funding in under 24 hours. Call 1300 882 867. And you gotta love it when your business expenses reward you. When you apply for an American Express Business Explorer credit card by November 30, 2017 and spend $3,000 in the first 3 months from the card approval date, you'll receive a bonus, wait for it, 100,000 membership reward points. Search Amex Business to find out how. New American Express card members only. Terms and conditions apply. I always wanted to do that.
Well, I said, welcome to the Small Business Marketing Show, where successful small business owners share their souls to take your marketing straight to the lead. Now, here's your host, Mr. Timbo Reid.
And welcome back to the Small Business Big Marketing Show. I'm your host, Timbo Reid, but you, infinitely more importantly, are a motivated business owner ready to crank out some great marketing to build that beautiful business of yours into the empire it deserves to be. Big show today. Stu Gregor talks us through the success of 4 Pillars, a premium Australian gin brand. I'll give you a simple idea to create a flagship blog post, and we revisit a past episode where I finally found a business owner who's used Twitter to grow their business exponentially. As per usual, team, there is marketing GOLD dripping from the ceiling over here at Small Business Big Marketing's HQ. So let's get stuck right in. Speaking of Twitter, just yesterday it went from a maximum 140 characters to 280. For the record, I totally disagree with this decision. I actually love the pressure of 140 characters. It makes you be succinct, which is an important thing in marketing messaging. First world problem, I know, but worth a mention nonetheless. Hey, you and I will be meeting some pretty inspiring peeps over the coming weeks. We catch up with Dan Presser, who's built a couple of great Aussie brands thanks to a fairly cringeworthy radio strategy, and he admits that. Plus, I chat with Aussie TV and radio royalty Richard Stubbs, who walks us through how to nail an interview. Anyone creating content, you are going to love that episode. But right now, let's meet Stu Gregor. He's the co-founder of 4 Pillars Gin and a rippingly good bloke. What I particularly like about Stu's story is that after many years of helping build other people's brands through his marketing agency, Liquid Ideas, he's decided to apply what he knows to a product of his own. That's when he decided to launch a premium gin brand. Well, the rest is history, with 4 Pillars achieving some amazing successes in just 4 years, including the opening of a destination distillery, which is, it looks amazing, which is ranked by TripAdvisor as the #1 place to visit in Victoria's beautiful Yarra Valley. This is a really fun chat that covers crowdfunding, brand building, the importance of design, how to get customers, social influencer marketing, and plenty more. Stu knows his stuff, and he's a fun bloke. I started off by asking him what made him think the world needed another gin brand.
Well, to be perfectly frank, I don't think the world did need another gin brand, and I'm not entirely sure whether I put that much thought into it, to be honest. But, I mean, the fact is that The couple of things I did think, one of which I'd been in the wine industry for 15, close enough to 20 years, so I'd seen how Australian wine had gone well, but also Australian wine suffered and slogged it out a little bit in the early 2000s. You know, we had a few issues with the rest of the world not really liking that much of Australian wine. So I saw the Australian wine industry go well. And then I saw the fact that 99% of spirits we drank in Australia, with the exception of Bundy rum, were all imported. And I thought, well, why wouldn't Australia make some good spirits? We make great coffee, great beer, great wine. It just made a whole lot of sense. And then when I looked into it, mind you, at a pretty shallow level, because I probably didn't, one thing that I suppose most small businessmen don't want to hear is that I probably didn't do as much deep research as I should have.
So I love this.
But I had so much experience in the industry, I knew there was an opportunity. Yeah. And I knew if I got the right people with me, and, I picked a couple of great partners, one of whom is an amazing distiller, Cameron McKenzie, who I'd worked with for 15 years, one of whom is an amazing marketing and branding guy who I knew would be able to do all the digital stuff. And, we started with a Possible campaign, raising a little bit of money.
So hold that thought, because I want to talk about Possible, but you have an agency, a marketing agency called Liquid Ideas.
Correct.
You have decided to apply all your learnings that you have applied to building other people's brands to a product of your own. So why did you choose gin?
Well, because we'd been fiddling. I'd sort of done a bit of wine making and building a wine business for probably best part of 10 years. Uh-huh. Crowded market, but there's there's 3,000 wineries in Australia now, and if all of them make 10 wines, they make a Chardonnay, a Sauvignon Blanc, a Cabernet, a Riesling, all that sort of stuff. That's 30,000 different wines in Australia.
Grigio,
Pinot Grigio, you name it, and they're getting weirder and more wonderful Malbecs, Merlots, and the rest of things. And so, but there was really essentially less than a handful of people making gin, and I drank a lot of gin. And the fact is, we used to say it took a lot of gin for us to make average wine. So now it takes quite a lot of wine for us to make really good gin. Okay. So it's actually worked well.
So it was always going to be a spirit, was it? It wasn't. You didn't have an idea for a bloody fidget cube and a WizDig gizmo.
Interesting. To tell you the absolute truth, the first conversation we had, and it was between Cameron and myself, was about making tonic. Because we drank a lot of gin and tonic.
Yes.
And there was no good tonics. There was only Schweppes tonic, right? And if you got crappier, it was Kirk's, right? Really low-level tonic. And there was a few fancy gins coming onto the market, whether it was Hendrick's or Tanqueray No. 10,
Yes.
And we would go and ask for gin and tonic, and they'd give you the post-mix gun normally. The gun when if you've ever worked behind a bar, you know what the gun is. And there's a button on it. There's an S button for soda, a C for Coke, a T for tonic, an L for lemonade. Half the time, the barman hits the wrong one anyway. Like, hits an L and goes, oh, shit, I've got the wrong one there. I better turn it into a T. So you'd pay lots for the extra good gin, and then you get your really shit tonic. So for literally 3 days, we thought we might make tonic. And then, I remember having a conversation with Cameron and just going, oh, mate, we don't know how to make soft drink, but we know how to make booze.
Yeah.
and we understand the booze industry. We wouldn't know how to distribute a Coca-Cola or how to distribute soft drinks. So I said, well, why wouldn't we make the gin? I mean, surely the gin's the good bit of the gin and tonic.
And why gin and not bourbon or scotch or vodka or anything?
One, we drank gin. Two, frankly, you can make gin and turn it over more quickly than you can a whiskey, because whiskey's got to be in barrel for a minimum of 2 years, to make them really good, probably 3 to 4 or 5 years. And I wasn't really that keen on having my children inherit all this bloody effort I'd been putting into it. And also we drank gin. And gin is the white spirit that makes the classic cocktails. It makes your martinis, your Negronis, Southsides, all the gimlets, all the great drinks are based on gin. Gin was having a bit of a renaissance. Vodka was a bit sort of 10 years ago, and gin is just such a great white spirit. And the other thing about gin that we discovered is that you can put local botanicals, local flavours into it.
Well, I think I've read somewhere where you said gin is one of those liquors where it tastes from of a place. Yeah. And I love that.
And there's not that many of them in spirits, because a lot of spirits, like if you make a bourbon or a whiskey, whether it's Scotch or Irish whiskey, it ends up tasting more of the barrel, because, it might be in there for 10 years. So whatever the base spirit might be, or whatever herbs and spices you might have put in at the early stage, pretty much get overwhelmed by the type of oak you use. So for us, gin, it allowed us to use lemon myrtle, it allowed us to use local lavender, it allowed us to use Tassie pepperberry, and we've used probably, in all the gins we've made over the last 4 years, we've probably used 30 or 40 different native Australian botanicals. Like wattle seed and strawberry gum and all these amazing flavours that you can only get from Australia.
You have done a wattle seed and strawberry gum gin, have you? Good.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Yeah, I just wasn't sure. To tell me, I
and a lot of juniper.
Yeah, well,
Without juniper, there's no gin.
The great Monty Python sketch of the juniper berry bush, isn't there? Yeah, fantastic.
I've drawn a blank.
Tell me, you apologised at the top, saying business owners listening won't want to hear about the fact that it wasn't a huge consideration. We're just going to do gin, and you've embarked on this. I love that, and you come from a marketing background, Liquid Ideas agency and all, where I'm sure there are clients asking, "Where's that marketing report? Where's that marketing strategy?
Where's the focus group? Where's the qualitative and quantitative market research?"
But, and I know some people love that, but, it sits on the bloody desk and gathers dust and, next thing you know, someone else has launched a great product ahead of you. So
it's not for me. Market research, probably... the market research probably gave birth to the camel, I think they said. Everyone had their little 2 cents worth, and they went back to the collective and said, well, what if we did this and what if we did this? And you end up with something that's just nothing to anyone. And I think sometimes marketers aren't willing or aren't confident enough in their own ability to back themselves, and they're not confident enough to say, right, I know I'm going to get this right, or I'm a pretty good chance of getting this right. There's no certainties in life. But the other thing is to build the right people around you, the right network around you, the right employees and partners and distribution. Like, if you have all that knowledge that you've built up over a period of time, it actually becomes quite easy to make those decisions. But you've got to have the balls to back yourself to do it.
Yeah.
And
so much of small business and business generally, it comes down to business courage. Having done, you'll be my 300th and 90-something interview, and courage is this constant thing that links people like you.
But you
jump.
So it's courage first, but then it's perseverance.
Yeah.
It's perseverance and perseverance. Yep. So one of the things that even if you have the courage to jump, that's great, right? You have not even begun the journey yet. Right, what it is all about is perseverance. The one word, when people ask me, how do you describe, the small business or 4 pillars or anything like that, the one word that immediately comes to my mind is relentless. It's relentless. Like, every day you've got to be thinking about how you can do things different, how you can do things better.
But if you love the brand, your business...
Bloody unreal.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. So there'll be some listening who go, it's bloody relentless, all right, I can't stand it. Well, get out of it. You're selling the wrong thing. You don't love what you do.
You don't love what you do because, if I look... And I had another distiller come to me about... he actually came to the PR business, Liquid Ideas, and said, look, we've got a distillery and it's not far from yours, and, we look at your success and wonder, why are you so successful? And yet we were established about the same time, but we're not so much. And I said a simple thing. I said, well, how many how many events, like masterclasses have you done? How many times have you gone and met with your customers and shown them what's in your gin or your whiskey or whatever it is?
What? What are you talking about?
He said, he goes, wow, I think we've done maybe 4 or 5 this year. Right. And I had a look and I said, mate, we've done 112.
Masterclasses,
tastings in store, events, dinners, everything, like every single day.
Because here's the thing,
we have to be touching customers.
You don't have deep pockets. You're out there, sleeves up, grinding away, having a crack, getting in front of as many people as possible, doing things like this.
We don't have the budget to go and stick, billboards on the side of main streets. We don't have the budget to do TV ads or anything else like that. But what we can do, the advantage we have is that people can get up close to us. You're not going to get up close to the guy who invented Tanqueray or the guy who invented Johnny Walker or the bloke who made, or actually the woman who made Hendrix, who funnily enough was here about 2 weeks ago. But you can get up close to us. And I think one of the things that we did really successfully in our first 3 or 4 years is we got close to our customers, both our trade customers, so the retailers and bartenders that sold us, but also our just punters, anyone who was interested in the gin.
I think business owners generally undervalue the power of the business owner going out the front of the brand, shaking hands. Yeah. What do they say? Hugging babies, doing all that stuff, because all of a sudden it goes, wow, that's the person who owns the business. And
you've got to do it as often and for as long as you possibly can. There's going to be a point where, we, for instance, 4 Pillars is now in 15 markets, and
well done.
You can't be in all those markets around the world at one time. But if there's anything really important or if there's anything big, you've got to be the one who puts yourself up there, and sometimes It's hard for anyone to think, oh, my God, all the travel, that must be so hard. I mean, that's bullshit. I mean, it's really quite fun. And, I hate people who complain that they have to fly around the world doing something they love. But it gets quite tiring, particularly for an old bloke who spends most of the night drinking and then has to get up the next morning and do it all again. But you've got to do it.
I hear you. I was in the Maldives last week, worked every day.
Oh, tough.
I know. How's that violin sound going?
Yeah, tiniest violin in the world.
Tell me, let's talk money, because you don't have deep pockets. Maybe you've got deep pockets now. I didn't see. What are you parked out the front of the Lambo? Did you get a 2 hour
$1. I had to get one of the girls who works for me to buy my lunch today because I didn't have any money in my pocket. I love it.
Well, I've got some water for you here.
I'm like the Prince of Wales. He doesn't have any cash.
There you go. Exactly right. You ran a possible campaign now 3 weeks ago on this show. I had a young bloke who came up with a simple way. I've been absolutely fascinated by crowdfunding. Simple way to manage your keys. Into the chunky key ring, and he's got this thing called the Orbit key. Wanted, I think it was like 20 grand on Indiegogo, ended up with 1.3 million. Amazing
Bloody
story.
hell.
I know.
How well
that's why I got him on the show. So you run a possible campaign in order to do what? Buy your first bloody vat or...
Yeah, no, so that was just basically to buy the first batch of gin. So we hadn't made the gin yet.
So you're buying the gin, you're not even making it?
No, this was... No, for the customer to buy the gin. We were making the gin.
Right.
We hadn't made the gin yet, but we wanted to see whether or not... So I think we were looking for 30 grand. We were looking to sell the first batch. That would have been about 450 bottles. I'm just doing the math quickly, about $70 a bottle. So it was about $30,000 we were looking for. And we gave it a month. And we thought, it'll be nice to see if we get there in a month, if we can sell all 450 bottles in a month.
I bet you smashed it.
3 days.
Wow. Why?
Yeah, mate. There was just this enormous... And this was the moment... Like, I still remember sitting in bed the night one, just refreshing the possible campaign. Right with my wife there. We've sold another one. Sold another one. Well, not counting the money, counting the bottles, like thinking we could sell the whole batch, like in the next few days.
Yes,
and
we're off to Venice, darling.
Well, hardly, because it's been $30,000 doesn't get you far when you're buying $250,000 stills.
But proof of concept, right?
Proof of concept is exactly what it was. It told us that there was a demand for it. And then when we had all these people who didn't get in, emailing us and asking us how they could get in, we're thinking, oh, Christ, now batch number 2 and batch number 3. We got
you
something
have
going
got
on.
a bloody market.
And they weren't all mates. It was when the first 50, you could see the first 50 go, mate, Cam's mate, other blokes mate.
Thanks, boys.
But as soon as you start seeing people who you've never heard of, I think that's one of the great things. Some people call it I heard someone refer to it the other day as dark conversations. Conversations that you have as a brand owner, conversations you have no play in.
Yeah, wow,
when one bartender is telling a customer about how good your product is and you're not in the room, you've got nothing to do with it, but someone has told that bartender, and that bartender on his own right is telling a customer that you've got to drink 4 pillars. And then often it comes back to you and there's no direct connection, and that is the best moment.
You and I are in the lift coming up to the studio 15 minutes ago. I introduced you to some bloke who's got a chef's outfit on, and he goes, 4 pillars?
4 pillars, yeah.
Does that feel good?
Yeah, that's unreal. That's unreal. And it doesn't matter where you are. When that's unreal... I can give you I'm not trying to sound like a complete wanker, but yesterday...
we'll be the judge of that.
Best. Last week, we did an event in Manchester in the UK, right? Just a little Sunday afternoon session. I don't know, maybe 20 people turned up and we just tasted the gins at this really well-known gin bar in Manchester, because I'm a Manchester United fan, and I'd been to see Liverpool play Man U the day before. Childhood.
Who with Mick Jagger and Keith Richards come along?
Sitting in the outer, mate, as a Man U fan in Liverpool.
Sorry, you okay?
Almost getting glassed, right? And we're in Manchester in this great little bar, and we'd met the owners a couple of times before, and then she emailed me yesterday morning. She said, how good's it? With a couple of photos. She said, I'm on holidays with my husband at Ho Chi Minh, right, in Vietnam. We're staying at the Park Hyatt, a bit of a flash holiday with the husband.
And there's the old 4
Went
pillars.
Downstairs, 4 pillars gin and tonic. And my husband, because we always talk about serving it with an orange, because we put oranges in the distillation. Mm-hmm. Not a lemon or a lime or anything else. They served it with a lime, and my husband, who isn't in the industry, he'd come along to meet us and all that sort of stuff. My husband said, no, that has to be served with an orange. And so she took some pictures of it. They serve very generous pours in Ho Chi Minh City. It looked like it was about 100 ml of gin. And that's one of those things that just astonishes you to think.
Let's just pause there, because again, people listening business owners are going, oh, yeah, it's all right for old Stu with his 4 pillars and he's getting noticed and, you know, he was born to do that. And, you know, I listen to you and talk. You know, I love it when I come across someone and I say a podcast and what's your show called? Oh, it's called The Small Business Big Market. I've heard of that. Yeah. Now, I love that. And, it's come out of a passion and a love and a grind to get it in front of as many people as possible. I think there's a massive marketing lesson here because I don't care whether it's the vet or the plumber or whoever listening, it can happen to them. You've just got to get out there and I call it socialising your business, right? Yeah. Because no one else is going to do it for you. And we don't have the money to spend on advertising, which is the lazy way. Here's 10 grand, you know, to a billboard company, get my brand out there. No. Well, it's not going to happen.
Doesn't work. It's one of the things I always tell my clients, and it's something that we did at 4 Pillars as well, is a really simple thing. Is sit down, like when you're starting this business or the brand or anything else, and write down the 100 people, 100 names of people who can influence the purchasing decision of your product, whatever that product is. Now, if it's a vet...
I love that.
Right? You start writing down the 100 people who can influence, now, positive or negatively, right? Yeah? So that might be the local council, it might be the local dog breeders, it might be the dog trainers, the dog walkers, it might be whatever else it is, right? And then figure out a way to get in touch with them all. Right? Now, you might have to go and meet them. You might find their email addresses. But if you've got a top 100, so for us in gin, right, so who the hell are the 100 people who can influence whether they're going to the gin market in Australia and all of it, you know, you start looking at, you know, sometimes it's licensing people. Like, you know, we're going to eventually need a license to produce it, so it's going to be someone at the ATO. It's going to be the guy who writes the booze column in the Age. It's going to be the guy who writes it in the Herald. It's going to be the guy who's the bartender of the year, who just won that big award. It's going to be the guy who runs Dan Murphy's. It's going to be the guys who run the local bottle shop. And all of a sudden you get that 100 and you go, right, how are we going to touch each one of them?
So the touch of each one of those is not the same touch, correct? You've got to be clear. And do you go in with a pitch mindset or do you go in there to say, hey, g'day, I'm Stu, got this thing called 4 Pillars, just wanted to introduce you to it, see ya? Or are you clear on what you want next?
There's never a see you straight away. Like there's always got to be a, you know, like I never go into any meeting with anyone without a bottle of the gin. Right, and no matter what it is, even a day, I've come in here.
That's the sound of 4 Pillars knocking, by the way.
Well, because you can't do anything without the product. And it always amazes me, like even when I go out to lunch or something, if I'm going to a restaurant for lunch, I'm always going to take a bottle with me and give it to the guy who's the bartender at the restaurant, right?
Wow.
And he may not know me, or because for us, that's the lowest cost marketing investment we got.
I get it.
Right, so at the end of the day, cost of production, cost of goods, you know, whatever, mainly tax. I mean, in Australia, it's all about tax. But giving a gift to someone and saying, here's our bottle of gin, you know, here's my card, this is what we do. And sometimes he says, oh, great, I love that gin, it's my favourite. Or sometimes he says, what's that? Sometimes you ask to see the bar manager. But, I mean, everywhere you go, I mean, I'm always giving a bottle of gin away because, one, it's the best way that people can see what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's better than a T-shirt or a bit of paraphernalia or anything else like that.
Well, I was saying, I gave you a copy of my book as you came in, and I'm a service provider. I don't have a product to give, but having that book, thank you very much. You haven't read it yet. Well, imagine when you read it.
If I had my glasses on, I'd understand it.
It's a glorified business card. So I think anyone, whether you're a service provider or a product provider, again, get your product out there, give it out. Yep. So you run your Possible campaign. That goes beautifully. Yep. Proof of concept. I'm guessing at this stage, because one of the things that I love about what you've done with 4 Pillars is the quality of the brand, the aesthetic of the brand. It's beautiful. The packaging on the bottle, these brochures and mini cocktail books that you've given me, everything's beautiful. I imagine they weren't there at the start.
No.
Over time, you have put a lot of effort into this thing they call brand. Stu, define brand for us and what it means to you.
Well, to build a great brand, right? I always talk about brands, and so does Matt, who's in the business with me, and he's a bit of a branding guru, right? I'm a branding executioner. You know, well, execution, that makes me sound like heads off.
Kill a lot of brands.
Yeah, kill a heaps of brands, but the brand is ostensibly where the value of the business sits, where it rests, right? Because at the end of the day, what we're trying to build, I always talk about, you know, people talk about brand equity and all this, it's bullshit. We talk about bias, right? I want people to become biased towards 4 Pillars, illogically biased. Right? The fact is, that is a particularly delicious gin that wins awards and everything else. But for a lot of people, a gin's a gin, right? But I want them to feel an emotional connection to our
There's
gin.
the word, emotion.
That is beyond what they feel for the other gin that's sitting next to it on a shelf. And all of that comes out of how we present ourselves in person, how we present ourselves in brochures, how we present ourselves on the internet, how we present ourselves on Instagram, how we talk to our customers on Facebook, all of that sort of stuff. If we can do that consistently with a really friendly, sometimes funny, most of the times polite, except for me on Twitter occasionally, but,
Have a crack there.
Twitter's... We've got these rules, Twitter. I'm only allowed to have Twitter, right?
Stu's
I'm not allowed on Instagram.
Stu's on his high horse.
Because
Here we go.
Instagram's where everyone's nice to each other. But on Twitter, you can have a crack at a few people and you can be a bit edgier.
Yes.
But it's funny because in Australia, virtually none of our customers are on Twitter. They're all on Instagram. Whereas in the UK, they're all on Twitter.
Go on Twitter, yeah.
It's a funny thing. So all of our Twitter, 90% of the conversations our brand has as 4 Pillars Gin, which I'm doing, on Twitter are with people in the UK. And 95% of the conversations we're having on Instagram are with people in Australia.
Yeah, interesting.
So don't think you've got to build your brand on Twitter in Australia. That's a dumbest idea of all time.
You couldn't.
And Facebook has been incredibly important for us as
No
well.
doubt.
Building those conversations where people can ask questions. Facebook's the sort of platform where it's a community. Like they you can't hard sell them. You don't. One thing we'll never do. We don't give shit away to try to get followers. Follow us now and we'll give you a free bottle and all that sort of stuff. It's just not what we do. Because those are people who become, numbers of your followers, but who will be totally and utterly disengaged if they don't win the bottle. They don't give a shit about you.
Yeah.
And I just think it's a dumb way of marketing. Right? I'd rather have 30,000 amazing followers on Facebook.
is made for alcohol, really, because they say Gary Vaynerchuk, social media guru, says Facebook's a party.
Yep.
Everyone's going to see who's with who, where they're at, what they're eating, what they're drinking.
Gary V.
Gary V. Do you like Gary V?
Mate, it's funny because he came out of the booze industry, so I had to
He did.
way back.
Wine Library TV.
Yeah, I knew of him and knew him way ago before he became super famous.
So, he tells everyone he's super famous.
He doesn't mind telling people he's famous.
He's done all right though,
mate,
Gary V.
He's done very well.
But what he does say is that Facebook is a party, and so treat it that way. So the minute if you're and I at a party and someone comes over the top and says, "Oh, you should buy this," well, it's like, mate, go away. But you have a conversation about where you tried 4 Pillars or a cocktail that you make with it, and it's a social conversation.
You need other people to tell them they have to buy it, and that's what our fans do. One of the best things we ever see is when we post something on Facebook. We're releasing a Christmas gin, for instance, and we post some pictures and say it's available and all this sort of stuff. It's when people are sharing it to their friends and just saying, must buy, let's go this weekend. Those are the conversations where we're not telling them they must buy. We're just telling them what's happening and we're letting them make the decisions, because that's the new marketing, if you like, the new branding, which is that you can't try to... The old-fashioned advertising model was just basically scream at people till they feel that they have to buy it. Scream it to them on billboards, scream it to them on television set. Now you've got to build up trust and have conversations with them and all that stuff. It's cheaper, but harder.
Oh, yeah.
But you end up with more loyal followers than you would have if you were just screaming at them in billboards on TVCs.
There is a real mindset shift that I'm going to say older business owners need to understand. But, I'm going to say anyone 40 plus, 35, 40 plus, where what you've got to understand is that you can develop a huge tribe of followers, and it doesn't need to be millions, but a tribe of loyal followers who love what you do on social media. And it's kind of, because you can't see it, you don't really get a sense of just how many eyes or ears are watching you, right, or listening to you, versus a billboard where you go, that billboard's on the highway and everyone who drives past sees it, but not everyone who drives past engages with it, right?
Virtually no one who drives past
right,
engages
exactly
with it.
right.
You're lucky if someone just glances up while they're either, let's be honest, texting, talking to someone on the phone, changing the radio station,
listen to your podcast.
Thank
you very much.
Talking to the girlfriend, boyfriend next door. Like, the chances of them seeing that, 1 million eyeballs went past that in a day.
Yeah.
But 1 million eyeballs ignored it. Obviously they didn't. And, I'm not an enemy of the advertising industry, or heaven forbid the outdoor advertising industry, because I've got mates in that business and they'll tell me that I'm completely wrong. But you're right. You know what? You can measure your social media audience, though, and you can measure its success. We can do things like post on either Facebook or Instagram, post a picture, and very easily measure the level of engagement. And we can do things like we can sell out a dinner. So it's also spending money. Like a lot of people say, oh, yeah, but they're happy to press like and it's a pretty picture and everything else, but are they really willing to become customers? And the answer is yes. We put a post up on Facebook maybe 2 weeks ago that said, we're going to launch this new gin. You need to be on our database if you want to get first dibs on this gin. And we had, I reckon now, more than 2,000 new people go onto that database, of which we reckon more than a quarter of them will buy the bottle of gin. Right? So let's call it 500 extra sales of gin at $100 a go. Now, that is a serious measure of the success of Facebook. And on Instagram, we know the number of people who come into our distillery in Healesville in the Yarra Valley who, when you ask them, well, how did you hear about us and everything else, go, Instagram. We love your Instagram page. And we're talking literally, we'll put 80,000 people through the distillery this year.
Wrap some numbers around, Stu, the brand as it stands now, and then tell us what you're spending on marketing. Can you do that? Could you tell us, in terms of turnover, staff, SKUs, units sold?
It's. I'm not trying to obfuscate. I'm not trying to say no, I don't have it, but I can tell you that we've probably got 25 full-time staff now, and
how many years in?
Almost 4.
4 years in.
Almost
25 full-time staff.
Yeah. And so most of them are down at the distillery. So they're making the gin, they're packing the gin, they're selling the gin. So we've got a cellar door down there, like a wine cellar door, and we've also got a bar down there, like a full-time bar doing drinks and tasting paddles, and and then they're doing the admin and all that sort of stuff. So there's going to be 20 down there. And then there's 5 of us who sort of work on the
swan around, go to the soccer in the UK, do radio interviews.
We've got a couple of ambassadors. We've got one in the UK, one in Australia, and one who's almost full-time in the US. And look, for us...
Can you talk turnover?
I probably can, but yeah. I mean, I could say we're sort of between, I'd say we're between 5 and 10 million.
Okay.
But the problem with it, so turnover problems are different.
I just want to get a sense.
It depends who pays the tax.
Righto.
Because
tax the problem.
A third of our revenue would be money that goes straight to the taxman. So when we sell it, let's say a bottle goes to Dan
Can you
Murphy's,
go and get the CFO from Google or Apple to maybe work for 4 Pillars? You'll be paying $1 a year. Mate. Set up an island or wherever you're, the Cocoa Islands, is it?
Mate, I'll give you a sense of how bad our tax system is.
Sounds like you're whinging now.
Yeah, I know.
This is an apolitical show.
I'll give you 30 seconds of why this tax is bullshit. That bottle of gin that I just gave you here is $75, 5 metres away from where it's made, right?
Yes.
And it's also $75 at Dan Murphy's or any of the other liquor stores around the country.
Yes.
That bottle of gin sits on the shelf in the United States in Los Angeles in a bottle shop for $35.
Wow.
US. So let's call that 40 low, $42, $43 Australian. So it's $30 cheaper in the US than it is here, and that's all tax. That's the money we give the Australian government for tax. So they get more out of every bottle of 4 Pillars than we do, right? Significantly more, almost double, right? And thanks for them, but they don't do much in terms of building the brand.
Irrigation, roads,
we might
hospitals.
Get a little bit of EMDG. But the fact is, our gin is most expensive in Australia. Right? Even in the UK, you can probably buy it.
Grog's expensive. Mind you, I've just come back from Singapore, and grog was exceptionally expensive over there.
Spirits are very expensive.
I want to talk to you about Singapore in a minute. But just going back to finish that, so you created a significant brand, 25 staff, call it 5 mil turnover, 4 years.
Yep.
Well done, first of all. What are you spending on marketing? Because you talk a lot of social media, a lot of socialising, a lot of networking. I'm getting a feeling not a lot. A lot of effort.
A lot of effort. I mean, it has to be. Your marketing in your first 4 or 5 years has all got to be about who you know. It's got to be about those 100 people. It's got to be about, I mean, the key to our marketing, to be perfectly honest, is the product itself. We start every presentation, even if we're just talking to our own investors or we're talking to our own staff, it all begins with gin. That's how the first presentation always starts, which is if we weren't making gin that was world-class, nothing else would really matter. We'd just be a bit crap. People would buy us for the first time because they're a mate or they're Australian or they're whatever. But everything has to be world class. Now then we, the team who don't physically make the gin, because Cameron and his team are responsible for making the gin, we then have to make sure that everything else that happens, whether it's social media, packaging, collateral, even our events, I'm such an anal, fastidious event manager. Like our events have to be amazing. People have to leave and go, my God, that 4 Pillars tasting, I might have been to a wine tasting before, a beer tasting or whatever. But that Four Pillars tasting was the best tasting I've ever been to. Now, if you combine that with also that Four Pillars gin is the best I've ever tasted, well, then you've got a loyal customer for, not for life, but certainly for the next few years.
Loyal and someone who's vocal. I look at this and I'm looking forward to tasting this gin, but I'll be telling others because it's beautiful. I mean, it's a very you've created a very shareable brand. Can you put a dollar figure to your marketing before we move on? Percentage?
Really, really low.
Really low.
Certainly in the single figures. 100% in the single figures.
Single figures being
Like under 10%.
Yeah, okay. So I love of turnover.
Yeah. Oh, easy. More like 5. More like under 5.
Oh, I love that. Now, you're a brand guy. I was in Singapore last week. My wife and I went to Raffles, which is being refurbished.
The original Raffles. Home of the Singapore Sling.
Home of the Singapore Sling.
Yeah.
Major component of Singapore Sling is gin. I get talking to the barman. I was quite excited to go in there and have the experience. Most of Raffles is closed at the moment, so they've moved everything to the long bar, which didn't mean a lot to me till I went there, but it's not the original bar where the Sling used to be drunk. That said, I was a bit disappointed by the barman's lack of enthusiasm for the fact that, like I said to him, mate, you're probably the most famous barman in Singapore. He didn't really care for that. I'm like, I was trying to engage him, sort of talk about it. The next thing I know, he's holding 2 bottles of Gordon's gin, which I would have thought is rubbish, isn't it?
Yeah.
Making $36 a go.
36 Singapore, which is always 1 for 1, isn't it?
Yeah. So I said, should we have another one? I said, probably not. No. Have a soda or something.
No, here's your advice. Go to another bar.
Go to another bar. Or at least want to tick the bucket list because we'd actually been coming from the Maldives. So that was bucket list tick via Singapore, Raffles, Singapore. But you agree with me. So crap that they're using.
Yeah, but they also use slow gin as well. They use a gin made with slow berries as well in a Singapore Sling. Yeah, it's look, I've done the Raffles thing obviously as well. Put it this way. Singapore has amazing cocktail bars right now. It's like Singapore's got an incredible cocktail bar scene. Super cool.
Super cool coffee scene too, by the way.
Yeah, it does.
Like coffee.
Yeah, Singapore's going really well at the moment for us, but I don't think we've ever sold a bottle of Raffles. So if anyone's going to Singapore, if anyone's listening going to Singapore, for God's sake, don't go to Raffles and have a Singapore.
Well,
for $36, you can play 2 really good Four Pillars cocktails at a groovy cocktail bar.
Probably 2 bottles of it. Well, not over there, actually, on the way back through duty free. Okay, so that was kind of social influencer. He would have been a great social influencer, but he doesn't really care. I hope he's not listening to I kind of hope he's listening to the show, actually. Your role has been reversed as a social influencer because American Express hit you up and said, hey, listen, can we feature you?
I did watch it when you showed it to me.
That is significant. Like to have what I'm talking about is a 90-second video expose of Stu and his team and the Four Pillars brand done by one of the biggest brands in the world, American Express. I mean,
no. Look,
you're a social influencer yourself, mate.
Well, all I was looking for was 1 million free points and one of the ones that clink when you drop them on the ground. The Centurion.
Yes.
The
titanium.
Yeah, whatever that one is. Yeah, I wanted one of them. Didn't get one of them. But look, Amex is an interesting beast because they did come to us and they came to us out of the blue because their PR company knew me through something and said, well, they were looking for a small Australian brand, and I was really happy to do it. One, because and there's no pay for play or anything else because, as I said, they didn't give me the 1 million points or the Centurion card. I've used Amex forever. Like literally for well over 15 years in all my small business, I've used American Express because it's always had the really good. It's always been really easy to reconcile my Amex bills, so I got no problem using them. And they came and shot a really lovely video. But isn't that they've shown it to hundreds of thousands of people, and it's a great advertisement for Four Pillars.
This is the boomerang effect in action, which is where you put effort into building a great brand, you hope to sell a lot of it, which is primarily what you want. Yep. But other great things happen, and for Amex to feature you in that is an example of that. I want to talk to you about your distillery in Hillsville. I mean, I haven't been there. I've seen a lot of pictures of it, videos of it. It's beautiful. It is absolutely beautiful. Now that would not have been a cheap exercise, and to have that. So why you have to have a distillery to make gin, but why did you turn it into an entire destination experience?
Well, simply because none existed. So there's 2 things. One is that it was if you'd seen the building before, it was a crappy old timber yard, right? It was a dirty old timber yard right on the edge of Hillsville. And in fact, Cameron lives maybe 150 metres away from it. And we used to walk past this crappy old timber yard on the way to the pub called the Terminus, right, to drink beer and talk crap and maybe have a bet. And we would say, well, shit, if that ever came on the market, how good would that be? You know, that'd be the perfect place to put a distillery. Because at the time we were making the gin at a mate's winery, just like in the back corner. Wow. Like, honestly, we had as much room as this studio, which I'm going to call it 15 square metres or something like that. And we were making the gin there. And we were quickly running out of room, as you can imagine. And Cameron saw... he just happened to know the local real estate agent because Hills was only a small town. He saw the local real estate agent talking to the bloke out the front of it one day. And he just rang the agent straight away and said, is he thinking of selling the timber yard? And he said, well, yeah, he is. And we said, right, we're buying it. And I remember him ringing me saying, that it's up for sale. And I said, mate, we've got to buy it.
How long ago
was relatively cheap. Well, this was probably 3 years ago.
So early days you're in year one of the brand and you're bloody off buying property.
But we needed to have so we put all our, for small business, we put all our super fund into it.
Yeah.
So it's commercial property. All three of us poured our whole super into buying the property. And then we had to spend quite a bit on it to do it up because it was a rat-infested timber.
Well, you spent it looks like you spent a lot of time. I mean, it's been designed, right?
But again, it has. But it was designed primarily by one of our partners' wives who works for the local construction and architects firm. So, you can always find a
couple of bottles of 4 Pillars.
One of the other, Matt's wife, Rebecca's an incredible designer, so she helped us with that sort of stuff. And so, you use as many of the local resources as you possibly can. And then, look, it is beautiful because, as I said before, you can't, particularly these days, you can't let customers down at one leg of the journey, right? If they think, oh, God, it's a great gin. Gee, their brochures are beautiful. Then they turn up at the distillery and go, oh, it's just a shithole.
I love that. Legs of the journey.
You can't let them down.
Your website is delightful. Your packaging's delightful. Your distillery's delightful. You are very, very, very clear on what the 4 Pillars brand stands for, represents, personality. How do you do that?
Well, you have to be conscientious.
Okay.
You can't. This is this relentless thing. You can't let. So even from the greeting that people get when they walk into the distillery, how's that going to go? It's the lessons that you learn from great service places, great hospitality places. Like we want everyone. So things like TripAdvisor. We talk about social media. We're now the number one thing to do in the Yarra Valley on TripAdvisor, more than the Hillsville Sanctuary, which gets probably 350,000 visitors a year. Primarily because we get a lot of 5-star reviews. And that 5-star review, and none of those reviews, not none, most of those reviews feature the people before the product.
Before the product.
They go in there and go, oh, I went to 4 Pillars, already knew I liked the gin, but my God, the people there were amazing. We had Elton or Linus or David or Kylie or Kirsty do our tasting and they were so friendly and they had such passion for their job and they loved it and all this sort of stuff. And we already knew the gins were great.
Yeah, right.
But, now we just absolutely love the, we just love the place.
Reinforces the old branding quote, Stu. People can copy what we do. There'll be another premium gin, but they can't copy who we are. You like that?
I bloody do.
I'm going to write that down. Here's a pen, mate. Thank you.
Down in the boomerang effect
I'll spell that for you.
They can't copy who we are. I say things like that.
Yeah.
All the time, but I've never had the...
People can copy what we do, not who we are. He's writing that down, listeners. I love that. Tick one to Timbo.
Because you know what? There is a distillery that does great...
Of course.
Great gins and all that sort of stuff.
But they haven't got the emotional attachment. There you go. Tell me, where do you reckon the brand... first of all, are you happy where 4 Pillars is right now in 2017?
Yeah. I mean, Yes.
Okay.
There's a quick answer.
Where do you think it would be if you hadn't opened up that whole distillery experience?
A long way back from where it is now. Simply because and it's interesting, a lot of distilleries, we call them distilleries, breweries, wineries and all that sort of stuff, thought that the brand was everything and it didn't matter where your home was, right? And it's interesting that now a lot of the big companies, even Bombay Sapphire and Tanqueray and all of those guys are going, we need a home base. We need a place to take people to show them what we're all about. People who've done it really well always.
How do you know
like
that?
The Scotch whisky distillery.
How do you know that?
Because Bombay just opened one last year. They spent millions on a place just out of London. Tanqueray are doing it as we speak.
Do you think you influenced that?
No. Yes.
Hang on. Yes or no?
I think they underestimated. You know what I think they thought? Because whiskey's always been really good at it.
Yes.
Right, you go to a whiskey distillery, you get a great experience, whether you're going to Glenfiddich or... I've never been to any of them, to be honest, but I mean, people tell me stories about when they go to the Isla, to Lafroig or Lagavulin, and they get this great...
Don't know what you're talking about, but it sounds impressive.
Beautiful whiskies, Scotches. And you know who's also done it really well, apparently, is the Americans. Like you go to Kentucky, you go to Jim Beam or Jack Daniels or Tennessee and all those sorts of places. And we always thought, well, we've got to have a home where we can showcase things. We can take the bartenders, we can take great customers, we can take... and punters can just come. And we also thought... who's not going to love a bar where you can have a good drink? One of the things we don't like about cellar doors in wine, for instance, is you sort of stand there against that, against
Awkward.
that counter, and you've got like the wife of the winemaker standing there who just doesn't want you there anyway because you'd rather be on her internet or something. And so, what do you want? And you go, oh, can I try a white wine? And then you have this awkward 20-minute, do I buy a bottle? Do I have to be nice to her?
Bit of cheese.
Jats
cracker.
bit of cheese. You spit it out. You get the crappy little glasses. And you walk out of there and you go, well, that was a pretty ordinary experience. People come to our joint and you can't get rid of them. I mean, this is actually a problem.
They're probably shellacked.
Well, they come and do a tasting of the gin, then they go and sit down and they have a good cocktail. So we've got guys making real cocktails now, and they can have coffee, they can have beer, they can have wine. It's a real bar.
Yeah, right.
And people love it. And it just builds that experience. And, while they're there, and this is while they're there, they're Instagramming the bejesus out of it.
Nice.
And they're telling all their mates they've got to visit.
Hashtag 4 Pillars.
Hashtag 4 Pillars Gin.
Gin. So there you go.
Always get the hashtag right.
Stu, just to finish up, if there was one thing, budget, no, don't worry about budget, but if there's one thing you could do to market the 4 Pillars brand in the world in the coming 12 months, what would it be?
If there was one thing we could do, I automatically think... I love sport, and I thought, shit, it'd be great to do a Super Bowl ad because then I could go to the Super Bowl.
Also, advertising does work. Oh.
Well, it only works if I get a couple of free tickets to the Super Bowl because I've just been watching the baseball today. I've been watching the World Series today. So
yeah, you're busy.
Yeah, no, well, that's what a couple of people said to me today, actually. They rang me and I said, look, you want to be quick. It's the bottom of the 6th and the Dodgers are down by 1. No, look, it would be... The one thing I would love to do, and I know this sounds like a bit of a cliche, I'd love to have more time to do the good things that we're already doing and do it more often and do it in more markets. So one thing I would love to do, if I could do anything, I would somehow replicate all the people we have working for us at the distillery and put them in markets all around the world to sell the story, because the thing that we're going to do better than anyone else is get great ambassadors on the road. We just had a new UK ambassador out here. We got the US guy. He's a big Aussie guy. He's a bartender and a cool dude in the US. I'd like to have 10.
Yeah, so great. So
10 people like that.
You are
around the
happy
world.
with what you're doing right now. You'd love to replicate it.
Yep.
I had a fellow, Ant Morell, on this show about 18 months ago. He is responsible for Bounce, the indoor playgrounds, right? For the trampolines and all that. Great success story. Like 2 years in, he's doing $80 million. This is nuts.
Money in trampolines, more money in trampolines than gin.
Who would have thought? But he's, opening up. He was opening up in Dubai when I was talking to him. What he has done, because he too is very, very happy with the staff that he's got in his original flagship playroom in Melbourne. Yeah. He's sending them over 2 by 2 to open up Dubai or to open up Paris or to open up and to replicate. And he's actually running talent competitions like, a sort of Australia's Got Talent to attract people in, and he's getting queues lining up to. So interesting. I hear that a lot where, it's all about the people at the end of the day.
It is, because, you can, the quickest way to break your love for a brand, everyone says you never want to meet your heroes. I still remember meeting a pretty well-known former captain of the Australian cricket team, and I still wish I'd never met him because he was a bit of a dick.
Doesn't it kill you?
Right? And the easiest way for people to fall out of love for 4 Pillars is if they meet the guys from 4 Pillars and go, they're dribblers. He's a dick. Yep. And they go, ugh. And I know when I think of wine, and I'm terrible because I've been in the wine industry so long, I look at the wine as much for the person who's behind it as I do for the product in the bottle. If I like the winemaker, I'm already 2/3 of the way there to liking the product. Now, I know not everyone who likes 4 Pillars can meet us, but plenty of them, it's this small... If we meet 20,000 people in a year, then those 20,000 people have probably told 10 or 20 people that they met the 4 Pillars guys and they are either good guys, okay guys, dickheads, or champions. Right? And so we just want to be one of those 4 pillars, right? Yeah. Probably not number 3, I think it was. But,
and hence the name?
Hence the name, but in a way.
I didn't think dickhead was one of the pillars of the brand, but it's fantastic that it is.
It's the lowest pillar. It's the southwest pillar.
I have to ask, I've got to wrap things up, but does it kill you that you're making such beautiful gin that you're having to mix it with second-grade tonic?
No, well, see, the thing is, the tonic business is starting to go better now. So there's a product called...
Tonic's okay now,
Tonic's
is it?
getting better. So there's a product called Fever Tree. We wish we had created Fever Tree.
Fever Tree
So
tonic.
it's now at Dan Murphy's. It's at all the good liquor stores. It's at most of your good bars. So it's the new... It's taken on Schweppes, basically. And it's really good tonic. And there's a bunch of good tonic brands coming out because they all had the same idea as us.
Yep.
They just had the courage
Yeah.
right,
Well, you
to
can't do
jump off
everything.
and say, we're going to make the tonic. And in fact, Fever Tree, which started not maybe a year or two before us, is one of the great success stories of the London Stock Exchange. It's on the secondary market in London.
Who would have thought?
Who would have thought making tonic would be a £250 million business?
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's incredible. And it's really good tonic as well. And we use it. We do 20,000, 30,000 bottles of it at the distillery every year.
How will you avoid selling out? Because you see brands like this, nice niche, boutique, premium. It's not for everyone.
Yeah.
But at some point, what do I get? Is it the point where I walk into Dan Murphy's and go, "There's the can of 4 Pillars and
4 Pillars and tonic." We did see it was on the weekend. I think we must have been going past the races. I think, and there was a couple of girls walking past with Gordon's gin and tonic cans,
yes.
looking a bit crook. And the guy I was with said, "There you go. That's your dream, isn't it? One day when they're walking down the street with the 4
So how do
Pillars
you
gin and
avoid?
No,
How
it's
do you
not.
avoid it?
You just be true. You just be really true.
I reckon true's hard.
Your bullshit detector, right? You just don't. Sometimes you know things are wrong, in your gut, but someone else is telling you they're right, or someone else is telling you that it's on brand, but you know it's not. You've got to. If you know your brand better than anyone, you've got to be able to make that call that says, "Nah, we're not going to go there.
Yeah, okay.
We're not going to slap." Despite what it might be me going, "Hey, listen, I think we should be a naming rights sponsor of the Sydney Swans, so I can, be the number 1 ticket holder or something like that from a footy team, or we should just sponsor the Denver Broncos so we can go to the Super Bowl." I don't know, but it's wrong, and I think you don't sell out as long as you still care enough. I think people only sell out when they lose interest and they're like...
Well, they sell out too when they care so much that they've built something so amazing that someone comes along with a big checkbook and you go, "Oh, hang on, that's a pretty big check," and thank you.
It's a funny thing in our industry because a lot of brands like ours do literally sell, and some of the brands never sell out, if you know what I mean. There are many great... There's a bunch of great whiskey brands and even, mates of ours have a brand called Sipsmith, and they actually sold to a big multinational last year. But the guys who started it are still involved. The guys who are, the place they're making the gin is still the same, but they've got all this new distribution points now all over the world.
I heard there's a Feral Hog or one of those boutique beers that's come from the brewery down in Melbourne for a long time. It's just been bought by one of the big breweries.
Yeah.
Now one of the kind of funky hotels in Melbourne have gone, "You know what? We're selling it 50% discount. Get rid of it. We don't want to stock it anymore."
Yeah, so
you lose your tribe.
Look, you do. I think you lose some of your tribe.
Yeah,
I don't think you lose all of your tribe. I don't think people, 4 Pines. Some of the boys up here, just in Brookvale, they just sold to CUB. They make good beer up here. They
Manly
just sold to
brewery,
CUB.
isn't it?
Manly, yeah. They just sold out maybe 6 or 8 weeks ago. Yeah, a couple of others. I mean, it's the nature of the beast.
It's a good problem to have. It's like paying tax.
It is. I mean, we would like to hold on to this business for as bloody long as we can because apart from anything else, if you're in a position where it's fun and you can afford it and you're still growing...
Watch baseball in the middle of the day.
Watch baseball in the middle of the day.
Sorry to bring you in here to do the interview. Hey, buddy, I've loved chatting to you. I could keep going and,
Could go for a while.
We could go for a while. We
Yeah.
could open up that bottle right there and probably just start to talk.
I got an
gobbledygook.
Uber here, so I'm not even driving.
Stu, thank you. 4pillars.com.
4pillarsgin.com.au.
And go and get it. If you roll up to the distillery in Hillsville and mention Timbo, you'll get kicked out. Thanks, Stu.
Half a shot of gin for you. Thanks for having me.
Well, there you go, team. Stu Gregor, co-founder of 4 Pillars Gin and Distillery. Told you he was a ripping bloke. You'll find links in the show notes to 4 Pillars, Liquid Ideas, and that video that Amex did for him. Coming up, I share my top 3 attention grabbers from that fireside chat with Stu. Plus, I'll show you how to nail a flagship blog post. Cash flow in business is everything, right? That's why I'm excited to introduce you to Prosper, Australia's #1 online lender to Aussie small businesses. But don't take my word for it. Small business owner Nioli Scobie of Truly Tea won the contract to supply the Opera House and needed to quickly ship tens of thousands of tea bags and 2 tons of loose leaf tea. Where was she going to get the money for that?
Well, I already supplied part of the Opera House, and then they offered me inside the Opera House, which is a very big deal, and I had to have a lot of stock on hand. They place an order, they want it the next day, and I wasn't going to say no to them. I'd knocked back too many opportunities in the past, so I phoned up a finance guy I trusted. He said, look, there's a new player on the market, Prosper, give them a call. I gave them a call, and within 24 hours I had the money in the bank.
Prosper, Prospa. That's where she got the money. Apply online in 10 minutes to borrow up to $250,000. Call 1300 882 867 or visit prosper.com/Timbo. This show is also made possible thanks to American Express Business Explorer credit card, a card that lets your business expenses reward you. I asked Amex member Chris Gray, CEO of property buying business Your Empire, how he benefits from using his Amex.
I use Amex for the whole of my business. Literally every single thing I pay in my business, even down to effectively my staff or my contractors and my rent at home, everything goes on the Amex card. Because with Amex, you get the most points for your dollar spent. And I convert those points into frequent flyer rewards points. I fly 10 or 15 times a year, only business and first class, including those beautiful A380 suites you get on Singapore Airlines where you get your own bedroom. And I fly for free. I don't pay for a single flight.
But it's not all upside, or is it?
So I've still got 1 million points because I spend so much money in my business. I've then got a pre-planned 10 trips for next year of where do I want to go. I need to find excuses to go to different countries.
This is a massive first world problem, Chris.
It is, but I'm willing to put up with it. So there's very few people that can force themselves through the pain barrier, but I'm willing to do it. I've trained myself.
New American Express card members who apply and spend $3,000 in the first 3 months from the card approval date receive a bonus 100,000 membership rewards points. You got to love it when your business expenses reward you. Search Amex Business to find out how. New American Express card members only. Offer ends November 30, 2017. Terms and conditions apply. Ha! I always wanted to do that. Righto, my top 3 attention grabbers from my chat with 4 Pillars Stu Gregor, thanks to Amex and Prosper. Attention grabber number 1. Reach out to your top 100 influencers. I love this idea. I think the trick, though, is to alter your pitch each time so it speaks directly to them. But go ahead and get that list of top 100 influencers going, I would suggest. Attention grabber number 2. Hand out product wherever you go. Love this. If you believe in your product, then why wouldn't you do it? And if you're a service provider, then come up with something that makes your offering tangible, like a book. Hey? You bought the Boomerang Effect yet? Hope so. It's pretty good. I wrote it. Attention grabber number 3, and I quote, nail every leg of the journey, unquote. You know, this talks directly to the art and science of building a successful brand. You got to identify every touch point, every moment of truth when a customer or a prospect comes into contact with that precious, precious business of yours and ensure it's consistent, compelling and unique. And attention grabber number 4. I know I said 3, but I love that chat with Stu. I love his respect for beautiful design. If you want to see great visual branding in action, then I would suggest seeking out as much 4-pillar marketing collateral as you can. And I'm talking the bottle, the packaging, the website, the distillery's interior design, the recipe booklet he's got, the brochure work, everything. It's amazing. And it's a wonderful example of consistent branding. Well, that's what grabbed my attention. Love to know what grabbed yours. Head over to smallbusinessbigmarketing.com /390.
What have you got to lose?
Oh, I love that sound. It's time for one simple yet effective marketing idea that you can implement now, immediately. One that won't cost you a fortune and that might just generate you more awareness, more inquiry, ultimately more sales, which is kind of what we're all here for, right? I call today's idea breathing life into old data. If your marketing budget is tight, you may not be able to always afford content writers to whip up content for your blog. You're blogging, right? So instead of creating something new, breathe life into information that already exists on the web. There's a ton of data studies and stats available online, and while some of these studies may get initial traction, many go unnoticed. So here's my 3 steps to breathing life into old data. Step 1, find some research that relates to your industry and that would be of interest to your customers. Step 2, give it a polish. Highlight the most important parts of the study, add some cool images, crank out some charts, and add your own thoughts and predictions based on the data. And step 3, post it to your blog, being sure to acknowledge the original source, then get the word out that the wait is over. The world's most amazing research study is now available. And here's the pro tip. Get some influential people to contribute their thoughts and opinions to this blog post. That way, when it's time to share your groundbreaking post, they will as well. That is amplification right there. Well, that's my 3 steps to breathing life into old data. You can head over to smallbusinessbigmarketing.com /390, where you'll find a link to this post, plus some additional resources to bring this idea to life, including 5 proven ways to make your blog post look amazing, and a link to purchase a signed copy of my book, The Boomerang Effect, that is a pretty solid chapter on how to nail your blogging. So,
What have you got to lose?
Do you need a speaker for your next conference? Recommend Timbo to your event organiser, or better still, book him. Tim Reid, that's reid.com.au.
whew, well, it'd be fair to say that you and I cover some serious ground in this show. Do you agree? I think we do anyway. Have you listened to the chat I had with Honey Bar's Steve Vellis? He's grown a successful inner city hotel off the back of Twitter.
It was something I had a little bit of an affinity for because by nature, outside the hospitality bit, I'm a late night person. So I like to keep myself amused in the hours that most people are switching off. And Twitter gave me an opportunity to reach out to people and have conversations. And I realised very early on, people just want to know you care. And if you do care, it's an easy thing to sustain. So I relatively diligently tweeted, and I tweeted night after night, and I tweeted day after day, and people became familiar with me and the voice of the business. And most importantly, Tim, it's just 101. I just wasn't selling the bar. Like, I wasn't saying to people, come to my bar. My bar's interesting. The most interesting thing in the world to most people is themselves. So I took the time to find out a lot about the people who were talking to me and the people that were sort of talking around the business.
Great interview that. Steve goes on to share some really solid marketing strategies for using Twitter and other social mediums, including the old Facebook and Insta. You'll find that full interview plus hundreds more over at smallbusinessbigmarketing.com, or you can subscribe free on your favourite podcast catcher. Hey, I'd love to hear from you. Hit the contact button over at smallbusinessbigmarketing.com, where you can email me, connect with me on social media, and grab a signed copy of my book, The Boomerang Effect. Getting some great reviews on that at the moment. Thanks to all who have done that. Plus, thank you to anyone who's left a review on iTunes. I read them all. Can't respond to them because iTunes doesn't let me, but boy, oh boy, do I appreciate them. Hey, be sure to check out the American Express Business Explorer card. If you love the idea of your business expenses rewarding you, search Amex Business. And check out Prosper, Australia's #1 online lender to small businesses. You can quickly apply online for loans up to $250,000, get a fast decision, and in most cases receive the funding in under 24 hours. Check out Prosper, that's prospa.com/Timbo, or give them a buzz, 1300 882 867. Tell them Timbo sent you. If you love the Small Business Big Marketing Show, then let another business owner know about it by grabbing their phone, opening up the podcast app, searching for Small Business Big Marketing, hit subscribe, hand it to them, say you're welcome, run away. Love you to do that. 5 times a day if you can. Until next week, I'm Timbo Reid. Always have been, always will be. Thanks for tuning in. May your marketing be the best marketing. Bye for now.